Understanding depression. The very first and most obvious step when it comes to overcoming depression is to understand it and accept the fact that depression is a real illness. What is depression? Depression or major depressive disorder or clinical depression is a serious but a prevalent medical illness that has adverse effects on the way you feel about yourself and others, the way you think and the manner in which you act. There may have been a time when going to a particular place would make you happy from the inside, irrespective of what your mood or emotional state was. The very same place might fail to cheer you up when you feel depressed. Depression doesn't only change the way you feel about a person or a place, it has the potential to affect you physically and drastically reduce your ability to carry out the most basic functions, be it at home, school or at work. Sleeping, eating and working can become tasks that you will not enjoy, let alone get through in the usual manner. Types of depressions. Like every other medical condition out there, depression too comes in various kinds that may develop under unique and varied circumstances. The most common ones are persistent depressive disorder, distimia, perinatal depression, psychotic depression, seasonal affective disorder, and bipolar disorder. It is fundamental to remember that the types are purely subjective to the person and may vary from person to person. 1. Persistent depressive disorder, distimia, as it's commonly called in the medical profession, is usually diagnosed after the depressed mood has lasted for at least 2 years. A patient diagnosed with persistent depressive disorder usually exhibits episodes of major depression, accompanied by periods of symptoms which are not as severe. However, symptoms normally last for a minimum of 2 years. These symptoms may include apathy, antisocial behavior or even wanting to be alone. They may also include personal neglect. Symptoms. Persistent depressive disorder, PDS, symptoms come and go over a period of years, and their intensity can vary with time. However, typical symptoms do not disappear for a little over 2 months at a time. In addition to the recurrent symptoms, there are chances of prominent depression incidences occurring during or before persistent depressive disorder. This illness is also called double depression. Some common indicators of PDS can cause substantial impairment. Some of them are disinterested in getting through daily activities, feeling sad, empty and feeling down all the time, feeling futile, constantly tired and lacking in energy, immensely low self-esteem, negative self-critique increases, feeling incapable of completing tasks that you were once good at, concentration and decision-making abilities are hampered, the feeling of being irritated all the time or just feeling angry without any reason, decrease in effectiveness and productivity, saying no to social activities, guilt and past regrets loom over you. You either start eating too little or overeat, sleep deprivation. These symptoms have now become a part of the individual's day-to-day experience. These are emotions one is bound to express, particularly in the case of early onset. For example, I have always been this way. When it comes to children and teens, the general mood to look out for will be irritable, instead of feeling depressed, and it usually lasts for at least a year. Parents often fail to notice it or pay heed to it, stating, "It's a phase, it will pass." This is one of the reasons they may not have seen, let alone reported, these symptoms to a doctor. It takes a keen eye to recognize these symptoms as symptoms and not the newly accepted teen way of life. However, there may be external influencers, such as an individual who is constantly around you and notices the changes in you and probes you to receive help. To meet the indicative criterion of dysthymic disorder, The symptoms could be a result of the direct or impending physiological effects of abuse of any substance, for example, alcohol, drugs or medications, or even a common general medical condition, for example, cancer or a stroke. These symptoms will also be the reason for significant distress or the impairment of social, educational or even occupational areas of day-to-day activities. It is scary to think about how these symptoms are there right in front of us. They can be exhibited by potentially anyone, from the person you love the most to yourself. Being aware of these symptoms will help to identify the right moment to reach out for a skilled professional hand. Talk to the doctor of your choice about your symptoms, preferably a doctor who knows your medical history or a doctor you are comfortable sharing your information with. You can also seek an appointment directly with a mental health provider. Trust me, there is no shame in it. What you are doing is one of the bravest things you can do. This fantastic decision will certainly change your life. If you are still disinclined towards seeking help directly from a mental health professional, reach out to someone else. Help can be sought out from someone who you think will be able to guide you in the right direction. The right direction, in this case, is certainly treatment, though you could very well confide in a friend or a loved one, a teacher, a faith leader, a colleague or anyone you trust. To identify and treat it, it's important to understand what the causes could potentially be. However, it is important to know that the reasons can vary from individual to individual. Clinically, the precise cause for PDS is still not known. Causes here are some of the commonly recorded causes. Life events. Just like every other form of depression, persistent depressive disorder is highly likely to be due to traumatic incidents that have occurred in the recent or even the distant past. Events such as losing a loved one, continuous financial problems or even a high-stress demanding job or social environment can very easily trigger persistent depressive disorder. Inherited traits. The concept of inheritance is an amazing phenomenon. It has its flip side too. Persistent depressive disorder is one of those conditions that can be genetically passed on to any offspring. However, researchers are yet to isolate the gene that might be involved in causing and passing on depression. If you have close relatives who have suffered from depression, your doctor should be made aware of this. The chemistry in the brain. The human brain is a repository of neurons and neurotransmitters that are naturally occurring brain chemicals. A chemical imbalance in the brain can play a significant role in triggering depression. According to recent research, the neurocircuits are responsible for the stability of the moods and how they work. Depression indicates changes in the function of the neurotransmitters. And it is this change that causes depression. This research was responsible for developing a way depression can be treated by targeting specific neurocircuits. Physical medical conditions. As much as depression is classified as a mental condition, there are physical illnesses that people suffer from that may also be the cause of the depression that is experienced. Physical brain trauma. A concussion is a good example. Chronic physical illnesses like diabetes and heart disease can prove to be the causes of persistent depression disorder in some cases.